Hi, I'm Lindsay Semel, an emerging translator from the Galician, and today I'll be reading from the prologue of A Soidade das Nenas, or The Loneliness of Girls, by Galician writer Miriam Beizana Vigo. It's a YA new adult novel really for teenagers and anyone who was once a teenager, and it's currently seeking a publisher. The novel follows the story of Emilia, MX, and Celia through two critical moments of their lives. MX and Celia are orphaned twins who show up one day at Emilia's high school, and Emilia, who is herself an outcast, finds them mesmerizing. She forms an extremely intense friendship with volatile Celia until one evening Celia disappears. As they grow up, bonding through their grief, MX and Emilia fall in love and get married, and then divorced, and that's where the novel begins. So it weaves together three timelines: their adolescence, around the time of Celia's disappearance, the events surrounding the divorce in the recent past, and then the present, where Emilia and MX are confronting everything that's happened to them. By structuring the novel this way, she can examine how we process things differently while they're happening to us, especially in the immediacy of youth, and then later when they've already become part of who we are. It touches on themes including loss, domestic violence, and mental illness, as well as love, friendship, and resilience. Miriam published 4 books in Spanish before returning to her native Galician, and she does so in a non-canonical way, using the female plural as the default rather than the male, which does feel quite natural in a novel populated almost exclusively by women and girls. So she also uses the second person singular kind of ambiguously, sometimes to blur the distinction between the twins in Emilia's mind. So I'll be reading a short snippet of the original Galician, followed by my translation of the full prologue. Aquelas nenas foron a minha perdition, e suponho que eu também fui na sua. Lembro essa antesala da dor, quando soou o telefono às 10:10 de uma noite entre semana, como filme em branco e negro. A ceia, que consistia em uns bocadilhos de queijo fundido e tomate agre, estava posada sobre o mantel de encaixe da mesa. O televisor emitia melodrama sobre hospitais que rompia o silêncio dessa casa onde só estávamos a avó e mais eu. E já nos bastávamos. Comíamos sem fame porque tudo estava mal. Não me refiro à comida, senão aos ocos. Sentíamos essa mesma angústia sincrônica que se quase nem compartíamos. Ela porque queria proteger-me, e eu porque não conhecia a maneira de almoçar os meus sentimentos. Another translation. Those girls were my perdition. I guess I was theirs too. I remember it like a black and white film, grief's waiting room. It was 10 past 10 on a weeknight. The remnants of dinner, sandwiches filled with packaged cheese and sour tomatoes, were abandoned on the tablecloth. The telephone rang. A hospital drama was on in the background, breaking up the silence in the house only Grandma and I lived in. And we were enough. We ate with no appetite because everything was bad. I don't mean the food, I mean the emptiness. We felt the synchronous suffering that we couldn't even share. She because she wanted to protect me, and me because I didn't know how to express my feelings. So the phone rang, and I was sleepy and sad because we'd been to visit Mom that afternoon. Every time we went to see Mom, some force would plunge me down into my depths so brutally that even now I still don't know how to write about it. I only know that when I think of Mom, I feel dislocated from myself, like I can't find anything to hold on to anywhere, and I get lost. You called it anxiety, and I felt sick when you pronounced the word so carelessly. I think that you and I, Celia, loved each other the same way our mothers loved, not love, their daughters, unconditionally, forever. A hair shirt of their own making designed to ward off loneliness. I wasn't paying attention, so Grandma eventually reached out her arm and picked up the receiver. I was dead bored, watching TV, wanting to go to my room. I was fully occupied already, struggling against myself. I'd felt these voids ever since I was little, and the only thing I could think of to fill them with was writing, because only writing felt true. After all, Celia had her beauty, and you had your soccer, MX. But I had only you two, you who were the reflection of my phantom form. By phantom, I mean transparent. You would stick your fingers right through me and leave no wounds. I think that pain was already part of us. The words implicit in your silences were true. We were useless. I heard your echo in the background between Grandma's replies, her voice full of the residue of her age. I didn't yet recognize it as a clear sign that she would die long before me, but after Mom. Yes, Emilinia is here. I looked at her questioningly, but my interest was inauthentic. I chewed. I'd been working over the same bite for an eternity, nauseated by the fried vinaigrette potatoes on my tongue. But they were your favorite, MX, remember? Only a few moments remained before I would find out about your sister. Afterwards, I could only imagine how you must be feeling and how you would face this new calamity. Do you know anything about Celia? Grandma asked me, covering the mouthpiece with her hand. Of course I did. I knew everything about Celia, but I promised not ever to tell. It was our sacred relationship. I think I knew Celia's mind better than she did, better than her sister did, better than her own mother had used to. I shrugged my shoulders listlessly. At 14, communication can be very primitive. Grandma wrinkled her brow as if her thoughts weighed on her, or as if she knew I was lying. Anything like what? Well, they can't find her, she whispered. They can't find her. Now that so much time has passed, I find irony in the plural. Who exactly was looking for her? A crazy orphan girl with no family and nothing tying her to this world. It was the first lie of many, as if anybody cared that the earth swallowed Celia whole, as if anybody would have cared if they'd been torturing her or harming her that second, as if anybody would have cared if she'd thrown herself into the river and drowned herself to make everything disappear. I remember that I got up and went over to her, but didn't know what to do. I was a teenager with the complex of a young woman. I thought about the twins and how strange life had suddenly become, like I could tell that everything had changed, that nothing would ever be the same, that it was serious, that after Celia's disappearance, I would become important. We grew up in a matter of minutes. Before that, I was ignorant. So were the twins, and so was Aloy. We played destiny like chess, life and us. We were getting bigger, and at the same time, smaller. When Grandma hung up, she didn't say anything. I was crushed, and I remember that she stroked my cheek. Even though I always liked affectionate gestures, I made a mean face. I might have even growled. She was an old woman, rarely caught with a tear in her eye, but she now transmitted a pain that I didn't know how to interpret. My mouth tasted of your vinaigrette potatoes, MX. No, I didn't know yet that your heart, your future, your hopes had been pierced, and that you'd started to die bit by bit. 14 years old, Goli, and they'd shattered you completely. It was never Celia's fault, and at the same time, it always was. And we, you and I, didn't know the meaning of love. We'll have to wait for news, Grandma decided. I insisted on going out. I turned that big empty house upside down, searching for something to put on to go outside, where there was freedom, but I couldn't do it, MX. You were alone that first terrible night without your sister, and I was alone that first terrible night without Celia. We weren't prepared even for that. I held my notebook all through the small hours that morning, but didn't write. I held it imagining that it was your rigid body, not delicate at all, but secretly fragile. The strong bones encasing a soul that would never shine. I wanted to see the woman you would become, but that night I only dreamt of how I'd lost you too. No, we wouldn't have news of Celia. At least not until everything was broken. Again. Thank you.